one thing that I want to do is to be able to fetch this information at the top here. So to do that, we can come to the build method. And remember, we already created a method to pull the information from the Firestore for the user using the auth repository. So as you can remember here, we created this method that returns a stream of type user called load user information. And that requires the user ID. So we are going to utilize this method. So for that, first we need to get the user ID. So the user ID equals to ref.watch. And this is the reason why this main drawer was a consumer widget, so that we can be able to use the ref. So the provider that you want to use here is the current user provider.uid. And since we are in the main screen and there's no way we can be here if the authentication value is null, so that is why it's safe here to use the assertion operator. Again, we can use ref.listen. So in case we get an error, we pass async value, and the provider that we want here to now look at is the load user information provider. Okay, and remember, this requires us to pass the user ID. Okay, and this here we get the previous state that you're not going to use and the current state, and for that we are going to call state.show alert dialog on error, and you are going to pass the context here in case we get an error. We want to read user information. I'm going to put that in a variable called user data async equals to ref.watch. So load user information provider, and we are going to pass the user ID over here like that. This use data async, as you can see, it returns an async value, and that value is of three states. It's either loading, error, or data. Okay, so you can use a stream builder or a future builder to deal with situations like those. But what I suggest that we do is that we are going to create yet a separate widget to handle that situation. So I'm going to call this async value widget. So inside this async value widget, which is a stateless widget, so this is a stateless widget called async value widget, which is going to be of generic type T. So extend stateless widget. Let me import material.dat, and let me remove this. I don't need that here. So this is the async value widget, which is a stateless widget. So an async value has three states of data, error, and loading. And so instead of using a stream builder or feature builder, we are going to replace that with the async value widget, and we are going to pass the value as the stream that we get by listening to this loader user information provider. Here, let us temporarily remove this cut. So I'm going to return an async value widget. So this is of type app user. The value is the user data async value like that, and the data, so the data that we get here is the user data. Okay, let me put, and now inside here, now we can return our safe area and the data. Since we have an async value widget here and the user data, inside this text, your name here, now what we can do, we can just say user data dot, let me remove this const. So user data dot name, and here instead of text email, we can just say user data dot email like that. So if I was to save that, as you can see now, it loads my name and my email like that.